If you think there is no wickedness in this life, or maybe you are in the category of people who say Satan has no power, then you lie. That guy has power, but the good news is God is all powerful. What you will hear in this story will make you take spiritual charge of your life. Many years ago, in the proud town of Umuchara, there were two brothers born just a year apart, Nkemakolam and Obiajulu. The people of Umuachala often call them twins. They were raised by humble parents who believed in hard work, respect, and the power of unity. But even as boys, the seed of competition had been planted by relatives who loved comparing. Obiajulu, see how your brother came first in class again. Nkema Kolam is taller, more respectful, and even more handsome. Nkem's handwriting is like computer typing. Obiajulu, look at yours. It looks like a drawn chicken danced on the paper. At first, it looked like harmless teasing, but deep in Obiajulu's heart, a quiet storm of resentment was brewing. Years passed. Nkema Konam, ever the calm one, graduated and got a good job. School gave him a woman that made the women of Umwachala jealous. Isoma was raised in Port Harcourt. She was what our people call well-nurtured. Her skin glowed with her oil. Her voice was like music, and her humility, Nadia Wahala starts. She greeted everyone, cooked like a village woman, dressed like a decent lady, and respected elders like her life depended on it. Nkem and Isoma's union was blessed with three beautiful children, Chikamso, Ebube, and Adaeze. Their performance in school made teachers use them as examples. Even in church, they were the ones reciting memory verses like angelic scholars. Obiajulu sat on his plastic chair one evening and stared across the fence. His own children were okay. They were just normal with no awards. No pastor ever called them out for being the best memory verse child. Obiajulu thought of so many things and then muttered, "Must everything good belong to Nkema Konam?" And just like that, the quiet storm grew into a heavy wind. Jealousy crept in like a thief that even the chirping of Nkem's children started to irritate him. Then came the news like thunder on a dry day. Nkema Konam was involved in a fatal accident on his way back from a business trip in Owerri. His car somersaulted thrice, and by the time people got there, he was gone. When Obiajulu heard the news, he sat in silence. His wife was wailing. The children were confused. The villagers gathered, and then he did something strange. He stood up, entered his room, locked the door, and smiled. Now that you have gone, let's see if your children will still shine." A part of him was sad, but a big part of him was relieved. On the day Nkema Konam was buried, he wore the marks of the caring uncle. He cried the loudest. In fact, he nearly jumped into the grave. After the dust settled, he began to make moves. He started by saying sweet words. "Isioma, my wife, I will take care of you and the children. Nkem, my brother, is gone, but I'm still here, and we are still one family." For the first few weeks, he was indeed helpful. He bought foodstuffs, paid for electricity, and even accompanied Chinkamso to school one day. The village women began to praise him. Obiajulu is a good man. He didn't abandon his late brother's family. But good acting doesn't last forever. So he began to shift. It started with small things like deliberately collecting foodstuffs sent to Isioma from her people and keeping them. Then he began saying things like, "Isioma, you need to train these children well, oh. They are too proud, always speaking big grammar. Let them be humble like Somadina, my son." Humility in his mind met dullness. Then he began to cut down their opportunities. He told the PTA chairman that Isoma's children would no longer attend the private school their father paid for. Let them go to the village school, he insisted. We are all struggling now. What's even special about them? But what he didn't know was that Isioma may be gentle, but she wasn't stupid. She was not the kind of widow who let tears cover her brain. She has seen life, and though she had no brothers of her own, her father taught her how to hold her ground. One morning, Obiajulu stormed in, shouting that Daisy must marry the son of a local chief who would take care of all of them. Isoma lost it that day. She stood up from her kitchen stool, wiped her hands, tied her wrapper tighter, and looked Obiajulu straight in the eyes and said, Uncle, I have kept quiet for too long. You think because I don't talk, I don't know what you are doing? My husband may be dead, but I'm not dead. And these children are not orphans as long as I'm breathing. Let me warn you, if you ever try to make decisions about my children without me again, you will see another side of me. Obiajulu was stunned. He blinked rapidly and looked around to be sure no one was watching him being disgraced by a mere woman. Isioma, are you talking to me like that? Whole me, Obiajulu. Yes, you, she replied. Keep your fake sympathy. From today, we will survive on our own. You will no longer speak for my children, not at school, not in church, and not in this compound. If I ever hear it again that you're trying to arrange a husband for a Daisy, I will involve my people. Obiajulu had never been more shocked. He sat on his veranda that evening watching Isioma walk around with her children with shoulders high and unshaken spirits. He muttered to himself, she's still a woman. Let's see how far her strength will take her. Weeks later, he was quiet. I mean, too quiet. But we all know that when a snake stops hissing, it is either planning to strike or it is waiting for nightfall. Chikamso, the first boy, had just received a scholarship letter. Not just any scholarship. This one would take him from the dusty corners of the village to a top-rated secondary school in Lagos. When Obiajulu heard it, he didn't celebrate. He entered his room, locked the door, and sat down like a wounded lion. How? How can my late brother's children be the ones shining in this family? We are my own children. Why must the lights always locate them? That night, he moved into action with the mission of killing the scholarship. He called a former classmate of his, now a civil servant in town, and lied with boldness only a seasoned wicked man could carry. Emeka, he whispered over the phone, that boy's scholarship needs to be stopped. I am a family member. That woman, his mother, falsified medical documents. The boy is not even that smart. They used connection. But that boy passed his exams. He's the top of the list and the NGO is already sending welcome packages, Emeka replied. Obiajulu lowered his voice like a seasoned froster. Do what you have to do. I will send something to your account. Just spoil it quietly. Tear the file. Claim there was a mistake. The next day, Emeka submitted a tampered version of the document. Obiajulu smiled and waited, but what he didn't know was that God had already gone ahead. 2 weeks later, Isioma was in the backyard rinsing cassava when Chikamso came running with the speed of good news. Mommy, they said I got it, the full scholarship. They called my name again and even added pocket money. Isioma's hands froze mid-air. She dropped the cassava and looked up. Are you serious? Mommy, they called the names on radio this morning. Even Pastor Obina was shouting in church. They said my name came up again. At that exact moment, in another compound not too far away, Obiajulu was holding his radio. His mouth was open and his eyes wide. What? That boy again? After everything I did? He dropped the radio on the floor and hissed loud enough for his wife to rush in. Papa Somadina, what is it? His wife questioned. He looked up like a man who had just been insulted by the gods. Over my dead body will that boy travel. As long as I'm alive, he will not see that scholarship. Not while my own children are sitting here doing ordinary common entrance. That night, he didn't sleep. By 2 o'clock a.m., he wore a white singlet, poured local gin on the floor, and began speaking incantations he hadn't used since 1994. He went spiritual. He called the prophets in the neighboring village, one known for strange prayers. He booked a section, carried goats, coconut blast soup, and red cloths. He arrived before dawn, sweating and angry. Man of God, I need you to cancel with destiny. But guess what? When the prophet tried to do his rituals, the pot cracked twice. The second time, lightning flashed. Even the prophet stepped back and said, Sir, leave this matter. There is something guiding that boy. I can't help you. Obiajulu knew something bigger was at work, but wickedness does not rest. Instead of repenting, he returned home and made a vow. If that boy ever steps on that plane, may my eyes go blind. That same week, someone whispered a name to him. A man feared in 3 villages. A dibia so evil, even masquerade bowed when he passed. His name was Ogbuefi Maduako. Go to him, the whisperer said. If you want the boy to forget his name, his books, or even how to walk, that man can do it. Obiajulu didn't waste time at all. 2 days later, he found himself in a thick forest outside his town, standing in front of a mud house that smelt like evil. A voice from inside croaked, Enter! Obiajulu entered. There, sitting across-legged on a mat of cowries and bones, was Ogbuefi Maduako. Obiajulu bowed and explained everything. How can a dead man's child be outshining my living sons? I want to block his brain, make him useless, and make that scholarship turn to dust. The priest said nothing for a while, then he nodded slowly. This one is deep. That boy is protected, but I know what to do. He reached behind him and pulled out a black doll. Buy one like this, the dibia said, his voice like rusted metal grinding against stone. Let it be as silent and blind as your range. Bring it to me on the next Eke market day, but you must know, no turning back once we begin. Obiajulu nodded like a child who had been given biscuits. The hatred in his heart had bloomed into full spiritual madness. On Eke day, he returned with a doll, wrapped carefully and everything the dibia demanded. 7 kola nuts, a feather from a black vulture, palm wine soaked in alligator pepper, and a pair of chikamso slippers. This one wasn't hard at all because they left the slippers outside the door even at night. The dibia chuckled when he saw the items, and then he said, I can see that you are ready to dance in darkness. He began chanting, his voice rising and falling like a sound of doom. Smoke filled the air. The doll was placed on a calabash, and one by one he pressed the items into it while muttering strange words that made Obiajulu's ears ring. Then he brought out a long silver pin, cold and thin, the kind that could make grown men weep if poked wrongly. He handed it to Obiajulu. This doll is no longer a doll, it is now Chikamso. His mind, his soul, his spirit all tied to it. Every morning before sunrise, every night before the moon reaches the sky's truth, jam him 3 times. Once in the head, so he forgets. Once in the chest, so he fears. And once in the feet, so he feels. Do this until the boy crumbles. Obiajulu took the door with shaking hands, but with satisfied smile was beginning to spread across his face. That same night, he locked himself in the room and began. Chikamso, forget your books, jam. Chikamso, fear your journey. Jam. Chikamso, your heart begins to fail. Jam. Then he hid the doll inside a goatskin pouch under his bed. He obeyed the Dibia's instruction like a loyal soldier of darkness. That night, after hiding the doll under his bed, he waited until just before dawn, 3:44 a.m. precisely, the hour the chief told him carried the most potent silence. He took the door and pierced it again, whispering those words. At that exact moment, far away in Isoma's house, Chikamso, who was asleep on his bed, jerked violently. He sat up, clutching his head. Mommy, my head is spinning, he cried. It's like someone is drilling inside my brain. Isioma, startled and confused, rushed to him thinking it was malaria. She gave him paracetamol and prayed with him. By morning, he said the pain had reduced, but his face looked pale. That night again, Obiajulu picked up the door. Chikamso, fear your journey. He stabbed the pin into the chest. Your health begins to fail, and all his nonsense. Chikamso, who had been watching a documentary about the school he had gotten into, suddenly dropped the phone and clutched his chest. He screamed. It felt like someone poured burning oil directly on his heart. Mommy! My chest! Isoma was terrified. She rushed him to the clinic. Nothing was found. The doctor said he's young and strong. Maybe it's just stress. But deep inside, Isioma knew something wasn't right. On the third night, Obiajulu rubbed his palms together and hissed with satisfaction. Then he picked up the door and repeated the process. That night, Chikamso dreamt he was at the airport, but no matter how he tried to walk, his legs wouldn't move. By morning, the boy could barely stand. His legs felt like stones. I don't understand it, Mommy, he wept. It's like my legs are dead. Something is pressing me from the inside. Doctors ran tests again, still found nothing. He was healthy according to the scans, but every time Obiajulu drove a pin into that door, Chikamso's body reacted in agony. The worst part, his memory began to fail. He would open his textbooks and forget what he was reading. Isama knew this wasn't ordinary. Meanwhile, Obiajulu, confident that his plans were working, was already celebrating. He danced around. It is working. Obuefi, my sons will rise, but that boy will rot, he will always say. But what he didn't know was that spiritual battles don't always end the way you think. He didn't stop. Morning and night, he pierced the door. Head, chest, back, and feet. And Chikamso's condition worsened. One day, Isoma noticed the boy couldn't even hold a pen. His hands were shaking uncontrollably. His once bright eyes looked dim like a candle fighting wind. She rushed him to a specialist hospital in Newe, and after running several tests, the doctors returned with a name. Although he knew neurological order, one of them said, he must avoid too much sugar, processed food, meats, salts, oily foods, etc. His body is attacking itself. Isioma's heart broke. The boy was placed on blank pap and vegetables. Within 2 weeks, he had become so lean. His clothes started hanging on him like borrowed rags. His cheeks hollowed, his laughter gone, and his dreams faded behind pain and confusion. One afternoon, as the sun burned softly over the village, a young pastor named Pastor Favor Wakintade was walking through the area. He had just moved from Ondo State after God told him to start a ministry in Umuchara. That day he was exhausted and his feet dusty from house to house evangelism. He passed Isioma's compound and just wanted to go home and rest. But then, right outside the gates, he heard God speaking to him in his spirit. I know you are tired, son, but enter the house. Someone needs deliverance now. He paused, sighed heavily, and obeyed. He knocked the gate, and Isoma came out confused. Good afternoon, sir, she greeted. The man of God looked into her tired eyes and said, Good afternoon, my sister. I don't know you, but the Lord asked me to stop here and pray for someone. Can I come in? Isoma, doubtful but desperate, nodded. And when Pastor Favor entered and saw Sikamso lying like a shadow of himself, he knew this wasn't ordinary. He sat beside him and closed his eyes to pray. Just as he began to speak in tongues, a cold wind blew through the room and the boy began to shake. Then, a deep, angry voice echoed in the spirit realm, loud in Pastor Favor's ears. This thing you want to begin, can you finish it? But Pastor Favor smiled and responded boldly. It is written, he who the Son set free is free indeed. He prayed violently and fearlessly. After almost an hour, he opened his eyes panting. He turned to Isioma and said, Someone took his name to a dark place and that person is manipulating this child spiritually. But God has stepped in. The case has changed hands. He promised to return the next day, and he did. By the next morning, Chikamso could sit up on his own. The strange shaking in his hands had stopped, and his eyes looked clearer. Pastor Favor smiled and said, Now, give him real food. Isoma panicked. Excuse me, sir. The doctor warned us. He has only been taking pap. Anything more could trigger a crisis. But the man of God said calmly, Woman of faith, fear will delay his healing. He lay hands on a plate of yam porridge Isoma had prepared for herself and prayed, Dear Lord, turn this food into healing in his body. They brought the food to Chikamso. The boy took one spoon, then another and another. He had really missed eating. By the time he finished, his face brightened. He even stood up from the bed by himself, weak but upright. In 2 weeks, the boy's transformation was so complete. The same neighbors who pitied him began whispering in awe. He was dying. What happened? Man, this can only be God. Pastor Favor visited daily, praying, teaching, and anointing the house. Then one Saturday he told Isoma, Bring him to church tomorrow. This child has a destiny. He must grow in the word of God so that this evil will rise up again. I'll be expecting all of you. That Sunday, they all went, they danced and worshipped God so well, especially Isioma. And somewhere in this compound, Obiajulo sat with the door in his hand, confused and angry. His pins had stopped penetrating because the boy he tried to destroy has stepped into divine light. For 1 full month, Isema and her children became firebrands. Every Sunday they were in church before the Sunday school. Every Tuesday Bible studies they were there, even midweek prayers. Chikamso's face was fresh, his body was fully restored, and his laughter loud again. The villagers said it was a miracle, and they were right. Obiajuno had not stopped. He still kept on piercing. The more he pierced, the stronger Chikamso looked. His skin glowed. His eyes sparkled. The boy even began reading again with ease. By the second month, they stopped going to Pastor Favor's church. We don't need to go to church every Sunday, Isoma said casually. We will rest this weekend. After all, we have our own church. 1 week passed, then 2, and then 4. They returned fully to their former church, a place with no spiritual depth but plenty of activity. There, they did a grand Thanksgiving service. People danced. The pastor praised them. The choir sang, Come and see what the Lord has done for us. No one mentioned Pastor Favor, not even Chikamso. Meanwhile, Pastor Favor noticed the woman and her children who once took 4 seats were gone. At first, he thought they traveled, But after 6 weeks, he decided to visit. He went gently carrying bread and some oranges. When Isoma opened the door, her smile was polite but cold. Ah, Pastor, welcome, sir. I just came to check on you people. We missed you in church, Pastor Favor said. She smiled. We are doing very well, sir. The boy is strong and healthy. God has been good. So, my sister, why did you stop coming to church? She avoided his eyes and said, We went back to our own church. It is a family church. We even did Thanksgiving there last week. The word struck him quietly. He tried to respond. But sister, the battle isn't over yet. But something about her tone and posture told him not to push it. He looked at her, smiled softly. God bless you, ma. And he walked away with the weight of disappointment dragging his steps. As he walked back, silent tears welled in his eyes, not from pride but from spiritual grief. Then he heard the voice of the master again, clear, strong, and unshaking. My son, don't go back there. They need you, but you don't need them. He wiped his face, lifted his eyes to heaven. Your will be done, Lord. That night, while Isioma slept peacefully, Obiajulu tried one last piercing in frustration, and something shifted in the spirit realm. Because grace doesn't struggle to stay where it is no longer welcomed. It entered. Uncle Obi gave that wicked mamaji smile, and with annoyance he pierced everywhere. Several times that even the door itself knew that it was pierced. He pierced that door with no mercy, morning and night, concentrating on the head. Let him walk again if he can. Chikamso felt it, and within 2 hours it was like magic. He became like the madman of Gadarel. Isoma took him to the hospital. They found nothing, but they gave him medicine. She got home and Uncle Obi saw them. Chikamso's condition wasn't hidden. This to him was the biggest flex of all. Isoma kept glancing at the door, expecting Pastor Favor to walk in as he used to, but he never did. She didn't know the man of God had received strict instructions from heaven. As days passed, Chikamso's head began to ache. Then he stopped talking. Then came seizures. They rushed him to another hospital. Doctors called it a neurological disorder with rapid deterioration. Nothing made sense. They couldn't eat, they couldn't sleep, and they couldn't pray. And then, just like that, Chikamso died at a young age. A promising light got extinguished and a whole future buried in pain. People came for the burial. They wept. They asked questions, but Isioma could not speak. Her shame tied her tongue. After the 8th day, with trembling legs and a broken heart, she returned to the only place she could have remained, Pastor Favor's church. This time, she wasn't proud and she wasn't pretending. She came in wearing no makeup and knelt at the altar like Hannah, crying bitterly. Dear Lord, I am sorry. I am truly sorry. The pastor welcomed her back without questions and without judgments. He simply said, You won't bury again. From that day, she served God with all her heart. Morning prayers, evangelism, church cleaning, nothing was too much. One day, after a 4-day power-packed program, she was returning home, still fasting and still bubbling in the spirit. She was walking through the streets where Obiajulu saw her. He froze like he was seeing a ghost. Then, like someone being chased by invisible forces, he ran. She turned around confused. What or who is pursuing Uncle? The next day, the same thing happened. He saw her. He ran, scared and panting. This time she went to tell Pastor Favor. He closed his Bible slowly and with only fire in his eyes he declared, Enough is enough. If I be a man of God, within 7 days, I uproot every strong man in your household. Isoma shouted a thunderous amen. And on the third day, it happened. Obiajulo came out of his house around 6 a.m. screaming, "Fire! Fire! Leave me alone! I said, leave me alone! No! Whose big hand is this?" He never knew that Olubenja had stepped in completely because Isioma had opened up this time without pretense to the man God sent to her. Neighbors rushed out. He didn't even notice. He kept on shouting, "I have never seen this hand before. This is so mighty." He confessed right there that he was the one behind Chikamso's death. He cried, but people left disappointed, and with shame, he ran to an uncompleted two-story building nearby. And before anyone could stop him, he jumped. Karma tribe? That was the end of the man. The strong man of the family died by his own shame, and peace returned. From there on, Isioma's life turned around completely. Through her consistent service and closeness to Pastor Favor, God opened her eyes to a divine business idea she had never thought of before. She ventured into natural skin and herbal wellness products, starting small but with excellence. Within 2 years, her products were in 5 Nigerian states and abroad. She bought her own land, built a house, and trained her other children conveniently, all because she obeyed, stayed where God planted her, and never again forgot that battles aren't over until God says so. Hey, African Tales by Karma Tribe, how are you all doing? For me, I am doing just fine. Tell me, did you enjoy the story? And did you learn anything from it? If yes, let me get to read from you in the comments. And I know some people will comment stuff like, "Come on now, Karma, Chikamso was not supposed to die." Just so you know, this is not a fairy tale. This thing happened in the locality where I live. And unfortunately, the person has been buried. Just like that. Before I go, permit me to say this. There are people strolling through life like it's a playground, unaware that in the spirit, life is a battleground. If you walk this life casually, without spiritual backup, without discernment, and without God's covering, you make yourself available as food for wicked men like Obiajulo. The truth is, if you allow yourself to be wasted, used, and buried spiritually or physically, those who wasted you can later go back to the same God and ask for mercy. And guess what? He will forgive them. Hebrews chapter 8 and verse 12 says, "For we forgive their iniquities and we remember their sin no more." Yes, you heard right. Because Jesus didn't come for the righteous. He came for sinners, for the wicked, for the broken, and for those who messed up. His mission was and is still to reconcile the lost back to the Father. So I ask you, will you wait to become a prayer point for your mother's tears or a poster in your church obituary corner before you wake up? Don't just attend church. Don't just admire men of God. Don't just run from one altar to another like a spiritual refugee. Jesus is the head of the church, but he gave different pastors different graces. That's why Jeremiah chapter 3 verse 15 says, "And I will give you pastors according to my heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding." When God shows you your God-ordained pastor, the one with the oil for your destiny, stay there. Honor that altar. Don't get the healing or the breakthrough and disappear. Don't act wise in your own eyes, because the same Bible says, "By a prophet, the Lord brought Israel out of Egypt, and by a prophet he was preserved." That's Hosea chapter 12 and verse 13. The altar that saved you should not be mocked. The man of God who stood in the gap for you should not be despised. There is danger in spiritual disconnection and tragedy in pride. So as I end the story, ask yourself, who is my pastor? What altar is back in my life? Am I walking under covenant covering, or am I carelessly living on borrowed grace? Don't wait until it is too late. In this life, spiritual sensitivity is not optional. It is a must. It is not too late to run back to God and be serious with Him. He is waiting. Choose wisdom. Choose alignment. And dear Karma Tribe, please choose life. Give this story a thumbs up and subscribe if you have not subscribed to this channel. Echo, Biko, please share out this story to your loved ones. I know this story needs to get to a wider audience. Help me achieve this, and God bless you. Until I bring another exciting story your way, it's a goodbye from here, and God bless you.